If you talk about a controversial election, don't have to tell that to Reince Priebus more than once. He knows about the ups and downs, and he hopes this ends on an up. He's the RNC chairperson. Reince Priebus, welcome back to Fox and Friends.
Reince, has it been the hardest election you've been a part of?
Well, it has been an interesting year, I can tell you that. But here we are, and we've got a jump ball with the momentum on Donald Trump's side, and the Senate looks good, and so does the House. So I got to tell you, I would take the 2 days before Tuesday right now if you asked me a year ago.
So, yeah, no kidding. Well, there's a brand new Investors Business Daily poll that came out at 6 o'clock this morning, shows Donald Trump at 44, Hillary's at 43. Her trend line is going down. You're at 90% with Republicans, which is, that's pay dirt for you. Meanwhile, it's curious because Donald Trump and Mike Pence are going to go to Minnesota. Minnesota, Hillary thought was in her column, has not been competitive for Republicans since 1972. What is going on in Minnesota and in Michigan and places like that, Reince?
Well, look, I mean, we've invested over $100 million in data, and what that means to you is that we know a lot about voters and what they're going to do, and we can try to predict how they're going to act. So if you know a lot about a person, if you know what car they drive, how many kids they have, how much money they make, what beer they drink, I mean, anything you can imagine, predictive modeling can tell you, at least with a pretty high level of accuracy, how someone is going to act. So we go into a state, take 3,000 surveys a night, and you can track where the race is at far better than any polling can tell you. And so we follow the data, and the data tells us that Michigan is a jump ball. It's tied, and lo and behold, polls come out after our predictive modeling and say the same thing. And so we know where the opportunities are at. We know what counties to go to, and that's what you see the candidates doing.
Right. So let me ask you this. What beer do Donald Trump voters drink, out of curiosity?
I don't know. Well, you know what? Believe it or not, and I'm sure there are some things on the Internet, there are actually trends that you can see that how different voters act based on consumer data and voter data and everything from hunting licenses to things that you can't even imagine that can tell you a lot about voters.
Well, if Wisconsin people are listening right now, it's Old Milwaukee. Real quick, if you want to know what kind of Saturday night we had last night, I watched Frank Luntz with Jeanine Pirro. So here's what he said. He said, Iowa and Ohio are in the Republicans' column. Colorado and North Carolina are a dead heat. Nevada is leaning Hillary because of the early voting. And Florida, get out the vote effort, the micro-targeting effort, is giving the nod to Hillary. Do you want to take these on?
Yeah, I just texted Frank before this hit because I told him he needs to come to the RNC and get a briefing. He's great and he's smart. But in Florida, there's no doubt about it. They're bleeding votes. I mean, the fact is today, they're about 75,000 votes short of where they were 4 years ago.
The Democrats.
And by the way, we lost Florida. Yeah, the Democrats are. We lost Florida by 75,000 votes. In North Carolina, they're over 100,000 votes short of where we were 4 years ago. And, we won North Carolina. By the way, for everyone can understand this, I mean, generally, the Democrats have been, over the years, over many years, good at early vote. We've now caught up with the Democrats. 4 years ago, it might surprise people, but on Election Day, Mitt Romney went into Election Day 450,000 votes short in North Carolina, and he won North Carolina. Now, when the Secretary of State opened and counted those ballots, it turned out that we were only down about 250,000 votes, not 450. So what that tells you is that a lot of Democrats that are registered that way, especially in the South, they don't vote Democrat. I mean, if you look at voter registration in Mississippi and Louisiana, you would think, wow, it's a pretty split voter registration roll. But the truth is, Democrats aren't winning in Mississippi and Louisiana. So people have to keep that in mind when you're looking at North Carolina and North Florida. Democrats aren't always Democrats just because they're registered that way.
Well, we won't know for sure till closing time on Tuesday. Reince Priebus giving us a preview. Reince, thank you very much.
Thank you, Reince.
You bet.
All right, Heather.